In the name of the one who creates, redeems, and sustains us. Amen. Please be seated. If you were to count all the things you love, how long would it take? I hope a very, very long time. In today's readings, we get a lot of love and a little bit of love. We traditionally interpret the story of Isaac and Rebekah as one of the Bible's great love stories. We get a pretty sexy psalm, assuming consent, in that story. And we get Jesus talking around, but essentially about love. And we get to hear about how love both encompasses all of us and is unique to each of us. Out of love, John the Baptist went to the wilderness, fasted, prayed, ate bugs, was extreme and strange, and people were uncertain about his unseemly overcommitment. Out of love, Jesus partied with his friends, ate and drank, probably overdid it a little. I mean, he didn't know if tomorrow was the day for him or not. Each of them lived in a way that wasn't quite right or proper out of love, and each according to his own internal drive, direction, and call. These are two very different lives, responding to God in ways appropriate to them, even when that looked wrong to others. Each of them knew what they loved. We live in a culture where love is often considered a feeling and one that can get commodified. When love is considered a feeling, we treat it as something outside of our control. We talk about it sometimes like wind, something we encounter but don't really have anything to do with. We fall in love, we fall out of love, there's just no way to explain it. We spend millions of dollars telling blockbuster stories about love's fickleness. And the good side of that is about appreciating the ephemeral and the unexpected, what we in the church tend to call grace, this lavish and unexpected kindness of the universe. The downside of doing that is that we forget that love can be tended and cultivated, watered and fed, or left to rot or wither. We worry too because of this when we're not feeling it with God, that perhaps it means something about whether or not God is there or whether or not we are right with God. Crushes or infatuation can be something that happens to us. But what we do with that feeling is within our domain. Most of us had a moment in our lives when we fell in love with God, a little or a lot. When I was in Austin at the conference for Episcopal campus ministers, I heard the presiding bishop speak. And we had a town hall with him, a time when we could ask him questions. And at the end, he was asked if he wanted to ask us any questions. And he thought about that for a minute. and said he didn't have a question, but he wanted us to sit for a bit and remember the original fire that got us into this work. There's something to that. An original fire at the center of our lives that we tended or didn't. Jesus alludes to this, I think, when he keeps pointing to the song that the children invite us to sing, or tells us that babies know things about God that the wise and intelligent adults cannot see. Something in that original fire, original love, something that's before intelligence or before understanding, something that Jesus held on to throughout his life, as did John the Baptist. Jesus also points out its corollary, however, a thing that he knew he probably wouldn't make it to see in his lifetime, that we do have to pick it, we have to choose it. Once we get that, we have to act upon it, and we're asked to yoke ourselves to it. And somehow, he tells us, surprisingly, that choosing to do that is restful, unlike most other work. I think this is something like it being so much easier to wash someone else's dishes rather than our own. A burden is sweet when we take it on together, or when we do it for someone else's benefit. Love is what makes it light. Whether we yoke ourselves together for the sake of a common cause, protecting someone from deportation, or we yoke ourselves together to simply survive our own personal histories or our families, it is sweeter done together. And sometimes the way that that sweeter done together looks is a marriage. But often it is not. It is sometimes siblings or cousins or that one aunt who loved you best. It is church friends and kindergarten friends and that one roommate from college and the person at work who knows what that eye roll means. It is the surge of joy that happens when voices are raised together, both in protest and in song. It is the second magic, the one that happens when we add a little fuel to the original fire, and a little more, and a little more. It is the good and godly joy of a lifetime, a long lifetime. Another thing that Jesus didn't get but knew was good. A lifetime of accumulating, tending, noticing, collecting, nurturing, and appreciating the little treasures of love. How long would it take you to count all of the things you love?